apologies to our guests, our attendee list. We're now live. So Kieran is Head of Digital for Golden Charter. I had the privilege of hearing him speak in Perth in Scotland last autumn, and it was a fabulous presentation. So without further ado, over to you, Kieran. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, and hopefully everybody can hear me loud and clear. I'll keep an eye on the chat box as well for any comments coming through, and I'll take each slide as they come and leave a moment after each slide if anyone would like to ask a question. So I'm sure there's no questions on the first slide, so let's move on to slide 2. What is online marketing? It's a mixture of things, but ultimately it is marketing. There's no real difference between offline and online marketing. It is all marketing. It's just using technology for the benefit of marketing. And in this slide, what we're looking at is the different types of things you can do in online marketing, such as social media, search engine optimization, or SEO, as we would say, which is basically Google or Bing, how you interact with mobile devices, where now the majority of the public are accessing the internet through a phone, a mobile device. And if you think about that, that's effectively a small screen. How we use analytics, how we get data. When you think about offline media, newspapers, television, radio, while you can advertise on those mediums, you don't always get the data or certainly real data in terms of what response you're getting from the public and your audience. You kind of take a mixture of data sources and get a view. But when it comes to online marketing, you can get exactly what's happening, every user, where they are in the country, what age they might be, and a whole raft of data. So analytics are very important. And content is just another word for editorial, really. And what I mean by editorial is what you're writing, what photos you're showing, what videos you're displaying. It's how you engage with the audience. So you mix all of those things up, and that is ultimately online marketing. It is marketing, but it's just done through technology. Now, after that slide, move on to the next one, where really we're looking at a slightly more complicated view of online marketing, or digital marketing, as you might also have heard it. And you can do more than what I described in the last slide. You can get into social media, link building, AdWords, pay-per-click, how you manage your database through customer relationship management, how you get into better use of search engine optimization. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the next slide, it looks even more complicated. And this is the challenging thing about online marketing particularly. It is quite easy to be bamboozled by all of the different things that are out there, all of the different technologies, the different ideas. It's not as simple as, say, a mix of newspaper, magazines, television, radio. There's a lot more things out there. But really, I feel, having worked in marketing a long time and certainly worked in the online space a long time, do not be blinded or even allow yourself to be confused by all of the different tools out there, because really it should be as simple as focusing on the basics, which is what I bring it back to this original slide, which is the social media, the content, search engine optimization, how you interact with mobile, and how you look at your data. It is easy to look at the bigger picture and then the even bigger picture. But I think if you were to look at this one, the Content Marketing Challenge, there's lots of technologies and ideas in there. And we work with some of them here at Golden Charter, and I've worked with many of them over the years. Many of them do the same things, and some of them aren't very good, some of them are good, but really just keep it simple is definitely a lesson in online marketing. It's very easy for someone to come along and blind you by science, when really the key thing is to keep it simple. And when we go through this presentation, I'll do my very best to keep it simple. And if anyone has a question, as I mentioned after each slide, please do ask it, and I'll endeavor to keep this as simple as possible. So now we're going to really get into online marketing and how I would approach online marketing. And it starts really with the digital marketing funnel. Again, it's marketing in general. The only distinction I'm making is whether something is online or offline. And that distinction being traditional media and new media. New media being online, digital, traditional media being your kind of print, broadcast media. In all marketing, you have a funnel. You go for exposure, you seek discovery, you seek to be considered, and then you go for conversion, you build a relationship, and then you go for retention. So in the digital marketing funnel, what I've done is I've put more detail into each area of the funnel, and these slides, of course, will be available for you to look at after the presentation. But starting with exposure online, there's a way you can expose your business and your services for free and then paid. And by paid, I mean ads. I mean paying for visibility on search engines like Google and Bing, display advertising around websites, social media advertising, advertising through partners and affiliates. And that's paid. You're paying money for that presence online. And then the other type of exposure is what we'd call earned, or let's just say free, where you're generating that exposure yourself through your own activities, and what's costing you is your own time, but not necessarily money. Once you expose your business and services, then you seek discovery, and that would be the first few visits to your website and what people see when they land on your website or they land on your social media page, and then what actions you want them to take when they land. And that's when it moves into consideration, because at that point, a visitor to your website or your page is potentially going to become a customer. They are considering what it is you offer. And if you take that into the offline world, you know, maybe you put a message out there in the newspaper and a person is walking past one of your storefronts in the high street and they consider you at that point, or maybe they even walk in to your premises and they consider you at that point. They're doing that same journey, albeit online, and your website or your social media profile is effectively your window, your shop window. And then after consideration comes conversion, where they decide to take an action with you, whether that is to take a funeral plan perhaps, or perhaps it is at that time they have an at need, or whatever it is, whatever service you can offer them that they want to take up with you, and then you convert them. And then you build that relationship after the fact as well, which is really, really important, of course. And then there's the question of retention. Well, this is a very interesting industry. You know, where does retention come into this, especially if it's for someone at that point of that need? Well, by retention, I would also say referral, and I should probably say retention / referral on that side, because referral is absolutely vital to growing your business, whether it's online or offline marketing. Referral is when you engage in a transaction with your customer who you have converted, and then through your relationship with them and your positive relationship, they refer you to their friends, their family, or whatever. So in that marketing funnel, we're looking to go through each stage from exposure right through to conversion and then retention or referral. And if you think about that journey, you should think about that journey in all marketing activity you would undertake. Is this the right type of exposure you want? How do people discover you? What happens when they consider you? And then moving down through. So let's move on to the next slide, unless there's any questions going to jump into the chat box regarding the digital marketing funnel, but hopefully that was straightforward enough. Okay, so one of the most common things we do online is what's called PPC, or pay per click. It is the most popular form of online advertising, where basically you pay a fee to have your ad at the top of search results. So the most common thing is someone will type in a word or a selection of words, and Google, which is the biggest search engine in the world, 90% of all searches are conducted on Google. The rest conducted on a mixture of Bing and Yahoo. But 9 out of 10 people will use Google as their search engine. And after this presentation, or even right now if you wish, I would absolutely recommend typing in the name of your business into Google and see what happens. Does your business appear on the first page? Are you high up the rankings? Are you low down the rankings? Are you on page 2? Are there competitors advertising on Google using names that would be maybe more associated with your business? It's very, very important to see where you're coming in on Google and where you're ranking. And you really, really want to rank highly. And by highly, I mean in the top 3. However, before we get into specifically search engines and Google, let's just deal with PPC, pay per click. It does exactly what it says on the tin. You are paying for each click you get. Now, what you see on the screen are actually 4 adverts, but they look like search results. So I typed in the word funeral and the word plans, so funeral plans into Google, and I hit return, and this is what Google gave me as the first 4 results on a page. It starts with Liverpool, Victoria, then a business called expertcompare.co.uk, then Golden Charter, and then British Seniors. Now, what's interesting is, if I had typed funeral plan instead of funeral plans, I would have had different results as well. So even just changing a letter will give you different results. And this works like an auction. It's like eBay, where Liverpool, Victoria will pay probably about £5 per click for that activity. And Golden Charter might be paying, let's say, £3.50. But it works like an auction where you rank in the search results, depends on how much you are bidding for that term at that time. On to the next slide, which is Google itself. And I know some of this may be difficult to read, but when you receive the presentation, it'll be probably more legible on your screens. This is a search results for funeral plan. Now, I mentioned in the previous slide, it was funeral plans, plural, but this is funeral plan I've searched, and you can see that Liverpool, Victoria comes top again. You might need to use your glasses or zoom in, or binoculars possibly, but Expert Compare comes second again, but this time Golden Charter isn't third. Golden Charter has dropped to 4th place in this search, and actually in 3rd position has come up funeral-prepaid.co.uk, again another what I would probably call grey business. I wouldn't necessarily say they are well-known providers of funeral plans, but they're operating in the space regardless. And then below those 4 search results, where you can see, if you look just here, hopefully you can see where I'm marking on your screen with the little yellow tips, that says the word ad. And that is really the only way Google has differentiated these results from what we would call organic results, or your earned results, which means you're not paying for them. So when someone types in funeral plan into Google, the first 4 here are adverts, and the next are what we would call the organic results. These are the natural results, the results that deserve to be showed on the page, because that is the answer people are looking for. Now, interestingly, when you type funeral plan, at that point in time, Cooperative Funeral Care came top, Golden Charter came second, Sun Life came third, and then Age UK came 4th. Now, that will change and move around over time, but at that particular time, they were the search results. And I absolutely recommend trying this yourself, typing in funeral, funeral plan. Funeral director is a very interesting term to type into Google, especially given geographical differences, and just see what happens on the Google page. And it's really important for your business, certainly, if you are typing in words like funeral director or funeral director, whatever town or city you may be in, that you should be figuring on page 1, and you should be figuring quite highly up. And then if you are in this area here, in the organic search results, with your business name, you're doing well. But then look who's above you buying ads. And what you might find, and I do see this with Cooperative from time to time, they will buy terms like funeral director Birmingham, or a smaller town, just so that they can get their business ahead of yours. So you may well be the most obvious or natural result in the search, but actually Cooperative or even Dignity and others are buying terms to figure up higher up the chart. And a lot of people do not realize that these are actually adverts and tend to click on them. And Google knows this, and that's why Google is one of the richest companies in the world, because this is what Google wants to happen. What Google wants to do is give people the correct answer. So if you imagine that this search box is really where you ask Google a question, and then Google will respond with the correct answer, but not only will it try and give you the correct answer here in the organic search results, it will also try and give you the correct answer through its own advertising channels. And while they're not being very explicit that these are adverts, they are ultimately adverts. And this is the space the competitors really work hard in to get clicks and ultimately business away from local funeral directors and Golden Charter, and I see that a lot. And we do take steps to factor in here. It's quite prominent at a national level. It's not as prevalent at a local level, but the reason I just spoke in depth about it is for you to be aware. I think it's really important to be aware. Okay, so that's the slide on PPC and Google, and I see that Dave Lawrence has just noted something here in chat. Having been to India several years ago in a previous existence and seen a room of folk being paid to click on ads to raise profile and generate income, does it still happen? Falsify results? The answer is yes, Dave, it does happen. Click farms is actually what we call them. They operate very much in the Asian markets, particularly Indonesia and India. However, companies like Google and Bing have spent an awful lot of time and money to remove this activity from the results because it does skew results. Where click farms are very prevalent right now is in social media, in terms of boosting activity in social media, particularly Facebook, particularly Twitter and Instagram. So while there was certainly a nuisance in search results in years gone by, Google and Bing and Yahoo have taken steps to remove the skewing that those click farms would have an effect on the search results. Great question. Okay, on to the next slide. So that was PPC, pay-per-click, and an overview of it. Another term I mentioned was SEO, search engine optimization. Apologies for the acronyms, but there's plenty of them in the online space. So again, if I've mentioned anything that you haven't picked up on or don't understand, again, please just ask the question. I'll do my best to clarify. But there is a big difference between PPC, pay-per-click, and search or search engine optimization, SEO. And the difference is this chart I created to help understand that PPC is ultimately advertising, and it's a fixed kind of cost, fixed clicks ratio of advertising. So whatever you spend, that's what you get. Now, if you stop spending, it falls off a cliff. It goes away. There's no residual value in PPC. So you're spending, you stop spending, that's it. Search engine optimization is much more valuable. However, it takes a lot longer to establish yourself through organic search activity, but it has a much longer value to your business. So if you look at this chart, you can see here that, let's say on a cost per entry, that I would spend £1,000 a month on PPC. That's probably a lot. Let's say £500 a month as a local business on PPC. And I would spend that £500 every month. But as soon as I stop spending that £500, I will receive no more activity. With SEO, the cost of entry is much higher because you have to create your website, you have to get it in order, you have to make a lot of things happen and join a lot of dots together to get really good search engine optimization. So the cost of entry is higher. But over time, the cost comes down as your SEO starts to take hold. And then what you find is that you bring it down to a manageable level of cost in time. And by the way, time isn't weeks or months. I do mean over at least a year to 2 years to receive the best results. But what you get is the organic performance improving and increased rankings. So if, for instance, your business, a funeral director business in nondescript town somewhere in Britain, doesn't feature on the first page in Google but wants to, they probably have to invest in their website, invest in search engine optimization, and it won't happen overnight, but it could happen in a matter of months that they start to move up the rankings. And then 12 months from when they first started the project, they could find themselves in the top 5 or even top 3 of the organic rankings, and then they'll start getting a lot more clicks to their website. Now, this isn't a problem for many funeral directors. However, I have spoken with funeral directors who have not invested in their online presence and not invested in online marketing, and as such get very little activity online, whereas other funeral directors who have invested small amounts and some big amounts can get an awful lot of activity online. And what you find over time is that online activity can be very, very cost effective versus a lot of traditional offline media you might spend. Plus, the other big benefit is it is measurable. You can see what your cost per click is each time. Now, I'm not advocating that you spend all of your marketing online. Absolutely not. It's all about a mix. It's about a balance. And even here in Golden Charter and other businesses I've worked with, I would always recommend that you have a balance between what you're spending offline to engage your market and what you're spending online. You should be in both spaces. You shouldn't be in one, or it's not one or the other. It's a bit of both, but it's finding that balance. And that balance will be different for every business depending on size of business and even sometimes geographic location. On to the next slide. We look at search engine optimization more closely, and I've typed in Golden Charter into Google, and I would expect and hope that Golden Charter is one of the top results. Now, it is the top organic result, as you can see below this line. Hopefully that's all coming up on screen. But remember, the results above it are ads, and again, Google wants this to happen. So if someone types Golden Charter in to Google, it's very important to us that we not only come top in organic search, as we do, but we really have to come top in paid search. We do not want Dignity or Cooperative coming ahead of us in this space. That would be silly. Someone has specifically typed in our name, we should be coming top, and we do here. But look who comes below us. Dignity are paying a lot of money to come second when someone types Golden Charter into Google. And then we have this company here called Find My Offer. And again, these are the kind of gray price comparison websites where they're not really funeral planning specialists at all. They're really just sales and marketing houses. They could be selling anything. Could be widgets, could be anything. It's purely just about what the opportunity is in the market. And I do see a lot of these businesses operating, and they're not very reputable in some cases, but they do make the market far more competitive for us, and we have to be on our toes. One of the things about Golden Charter's results, which is a positive, is that not only are we coming top of the organic results here, but you can see that actually there's much more space allocated to the search result than normal. And this is because, remember, Google is trying to be the best it can be. It wants to be the best search engine in the world, and it is. And ultimately what you think about Google is you're asking Google a question and Google is giving you the answer. So Google wants to give you the best answer possible for two reasons. One, because if it gives you the best answer possible, you trust its service and use its service. And the more you trust and use its service, the more ads Google can serve you and the more money Google can make. So Google has created very much a virtuous circle. But also, because Google is convinced that Golden Charter is the correct answer, it opens up a whole side of information here. It's kind of knowledge box of information about Golden Charter, where it is on a map, what it actually does, related businesses, quick links to its social media. If you type your business name into Google and you get a result like that, you're doing a great job. If maybe you don't get this section here, but you do get the main organic result and you're top, you're still doing a great job. If you come second or third, you're doing a good job. And if you come outside of those kind of top 3 rankings, you've got work to do, is what I would say. Most people, when they type in something like this and see the results come in, like Golden Charter here and Golden Charter on top, will skip the ads and almost click on every time this, because they can visually see that that is what they're looking for. And that's what Google wants to do as well. It wants to make sure people understand where the correct answer is. If we go on to the next one, I've typed something different in the search box at the top. I've typed Golden Charter funeral plan. So I've added 2 words, and by adding 2 words, that changes the adverts, but does not change our organic results. So our organic result remains the same. We still come top, and we still have this information unit here aside from Google. But the ads have changed. In the last slide, Golden Charter came top, but in this slide, Liverpool Victoria comes top, because Liverpool Victoria is willing to spend more money than Golden Charter are if someone were to type in the words funeral plan alongside Golden Charter. And then this company here might look like Golden Charter, but it's not. I'm having a trademark dispute with these guys just now because they call themselves Gold Charter. And what these guys are doing, they're like the grey companies I mentioned before, or for want of a better word, sometimes I describe them as cowboys, because they are trying to mislead people to click on this thinking that it's Golden Charter when it's not. And this is a very, very grey tactic. Difficulty is Google work on trademarks, and technically Gold Charter doesn't infringe the Golden Charter trademark. However, it is passing off. But you know, Google isn't the quickest to remove these ads because they're paying money, and Google likes to make money. So it's going to be a question of persistence, I think, on our part to run these guys out of town, so to speak. Mark Skinner's just added a question here before I move on to the next slide. We have quite a lot of inquiries via our website and a lot via Facebook. Excellent, Mark. I would absolutely expect these days that you will get inquiries through your website, and always important to have a contact us section of your website so that you make it really, really easy for people to contact you through your website. Not just phone, but particularly email is a very, very popular way of doing it. And Facebook is very, very popular now, particularly with the 45 to 65-year-old market who really embraced Facebook. And actually, that market, 45 to 65, is kind of the biggest section of users on Facebook, more so than teenagers and 20-somethings. But once you're kind of 35 plus, you're very comfortable with Facebook. Facebook is very, very popular with 45 and over. So that's good. That's great. On to the next one, and this is related to search engine optimization. And I did mention that if you're not in the top 3, you're going to struggle. And it's very true, because this is how much clicks the top 3 Google results get. If you are the first organic result, you'll get 1/3 of all of the clicks, 20% if you're second, and about 10% if you're third. 93% of online users begin with a search, even if you know where you're going on the internet. People are lazy and creatures of habit, and they'll just stick it into the search bar anyway and get the result. I do it all the time myself. I do it all the time on mobile. I know where I want to go to the website, and it's probably in my bookmarks, but I still just type it into Google and then just click on the correct result. So Google is so important to your business, not just for search engine optimization so that you appear on top of the results, but think about how you advertise on Google as well. And always, always, always type in the name of your business into Google and other relevant terms, and see where your business comes up. And try to be in the top 3. If you're not on page 1 of Google, you've got work to do, because nobody, very few people, I won't say nobody, but very few people go to page 2 and page 3 or beyond the Google. And Google will give you a dozen or 24 search result pages, but if you're not on page 1 and you're not in the top 3, you've got work to do. Mark Skinner's just made a comment on the chat. He's just put in Gold Charter, and pleased to say the Golden Charter came above them on the ads. Yep, that was intended, because we're having a little bit of a competition with those guys as we try to kick them off our space on the internet. So that's good. I'm happy with that. On to the next slide. I mentioned about how people use the internet. I just wanted to share some facts with you about social media use in particular. 65 million people in the UK and growing. 92% online penetration. 60 million people are online in the UK, and that's astounding. That's very, very high penetration. And of the 60 million people, 38 million of them use social media. And the reason I bring this up is because certainly when I started with Golden Charter over a year ago, the focus was very much on websites and the activity around websites, and that is correct. But you cannot dismiss the activity in social media. Now, I don't mean Snapchat or Instagram or the emperor's new clothes of social media. And there's a lot of that stuff. And please do not be distracted by stuff that does not give you a return on your investment. I'm specifically speaking about social media that I know works and that is proven to work for your business. And to be honest, there's really only one show in town for that, and it is Facebook. And Facebook is the most popular social media of them all. Yes, you can spend time on Twitter and LinkedIn and maybe Instagram, but honestly, I've yet to be shown very, very positive results where they will give you a return on the time and money you invest in those channels. Facebook is very, very useful as a marketing tool online, but also if you think about our demographic and our market, which is the older end of the spectrum, which is 45 plus, 55 plus, 65 plus, Facebook is absolutely the social media platform that this market uses. They do not use Snapchat. They do not use Instagram, not to the level required to really market to them. And not even really Twitter. Facebook is absolutely where it's at. And at the start of this presentation, I spoke about being bamboozled by a lot of things. And what we're going to try and do is keep it really, really simple. So when I talk about search, I mean Google. When I talk about social, I mean Facebook. And that's how simple, and I would say it is. Focus effort on Google, focus efforts on Facebook. And they will be very much the dominant platforms for years to come. So time is very, very important and very, very valuable. So try to avoid wasting your time on things that will have minimal return compared to the much bigger platforms of Google and Facebook. One interesting thing with the social media users is they predominantly use it on mobile devices. And the reason I bring this up about the mobile device is very important because the mobile device is a small device. It's got a smaller screen. So you might look at your website on a big screen, on your laptop, on your desktop at work. But what does it look like on a small screen? That's the important question. And more people, particularly over 65s, have got big smartphones or tablets. And tablets and smartphones kind of go hand in hand. They're a smaller screen than a laptop. So what I would always say is, how does your world look through a small screen, not a big screen? So when you're going on a journey to see what your website looks like, think about what it looks like on a mobile device first, and then think about a bigger screen. So start with a small screen and then go to the big screen, because people are connecting to the internet predominantly through a mobile device now. We mentioned the demographics and where they're going. This is a really interesting chart, which not only shows that 60 plus are very active in the social media space, as you can see here, but this isn't the short-term business and short-term views. We have medium and long-term views here. Certainly Golden Charter, and I know from the funeral directors I've spoken with over the months, if you look at what's happening over the next 5 to 10 years and even longer, look at what is going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that you will have to seriously be considering right now how you're communicating with your customers and with your future customers, and anyone you want to contact and communicate with will be online and probably will be through social media channels or types of social media channels. It won't be the way it is now. It'll be different in the future, of course, but you can see what is coming down the line is that more and more people are connected online and do business online. And I would absolutely recommend, think about how you're going to do business online if you are not already doing business online. And if you are doing business online right now, think about how you grow that business online. On to Facebook, and speaking about Facebook in particular, it's been an interesting one, because speaking with funeral directors over the months, few funeral directors actually that I have encountered operate on Facebook. And it's not that they are dismissive of it at all, it's just that they're kind of unaware of its potential, is what I would say. And I honestly believe Facebook has a lot of potential. It is not a silver bullet. There are no silver bullets to online marketing. There's no one thing. It's a mix of things. And it's a mixture of online activity plus a mixture of offline activity. And Facebook is absolutely something you should be thinking about. First and foremost, you should be putting your business on Facebook. You should be creating a business page, because people search Google and people search Facebook. And what they're really looking for is validation that you are a reputable business. So when they search Google, they should expect to see a high result. And when they go to your website, they should expect to see what looks like a professional website that represents your business. And they will find you on social media and they will search for you. And they should still see the same things. They should see something that looks professional and makes you look reputable. And Facebook is a great opportunity to do that, because it's also a two-way communication. It's not all about them looking at you. You can communicate back with that audience, and that's what makes Facebook powerful. Challenges are, it does require more time, and time is very, very precious. And we spend a lot of time on Facebook at Golden Charter, but I absolutely see the tangible results and the value Facebook brings to us, not just by itself, but by being part of a much wider marketing mix. And I would absolutely recommend, if you have not already done so, paying attention to Facebook and Facebook for Business and seeing what you could do. And Facebook are very clever. They're very good at giving very, very simple tutorials on how to do things in the help section, and they take you through it step by step. Important things to think about Facebook. Freddie Rolf has just asked a question, and it's a very good question, and I've heard this one a few times. I'll just tackle this right now. How do we tactfully, tastefully promote ourselves on Facebook? That's a very good question. And the first funeral director to ask me that was Ed Poole of Selman's in Birmingham. And he ran a test campaign on Facebook to kind of help get himself used to Facebook. And what I would say is, don't think about Facebook as an advert. Think about it as a way in which you can have a conversation with someone, but it's online. Now, you know, how do you promote yourself? Well, I wouldn't kind of explicitly promote the business hard. I would be quite subtle about it. I think first and foremost on Facebook, for any business, but particularly for our sector, is to be subtle and to be mindful of the market and you know, tactful, as Freddie mentions, and build your business page first and foremost so that you have a presence, and make sure everything is in the right order, everything is prepared properly, and then move on to the next stage in Facebook, which is kind of populating it with content and relevant content. And only kind of when you have your house in order, so to speak, would we look at how you would then promote yourself. And again, how we would promote would be very subtle. Again, that would require a wider conversation, but I'm going to go down through a couple of tips here about Facebook, and hopefully some of those will answer Freddie's question. Oh, I've skipped a slide, my apologies. So let me just jump back up here one. Facebook is the second most visited website in the world. I seem to have missed that bit out. But the point is, when I say about keeping things simple, and I say one Google, the other Facebook, Google and Facebook are the biggest websites in the world. That is absolutely where the action is. That is absolutely where to spend your time and energy getting your business onto those sites properly. Facebook users are growing in the UK, 4.5 million in the 45 to 54 category, 3.1 million in the 55 to 64 category, 2.4 million in the 65 plus. Facebook is absolutely a relevant platform for our industry. Yes, it has to be done tactfully and tastefully, but it is very relevant. And that market is only going to grow on Facebook, going to grow. And the great thing about Facebook is, and like Google, you can target as well. So you're not spending money in areas where your business is not relevant. So maybe your business is relevant in a radius of 10 to 15 miles. You can target your advertising on Facebook within a 10 to 15 mile radius. So you're not spending money in areas where it is not relevant to your business. And that's what makes Facebook quite cost effective. Also regarding Facebook, created 6 simple steps. Again, you'll get these slides from the presentation, and you can literally just go through them 1 to 6. First thing, create that Facebook page for your business. Create and share content. Start making connections, grow your page. When I started the Golden Charter, I think we had about 800 likes on our Facebook page. And through working hard on the Facebook page over the last year, promoting it through content, and not buying likes or anything like that, but just purely through connections, sharing content, connecting with other funeral directors, connecting with agencies and groups, sharing information and being relevant to our target market. We've grown our profile on Facebook to, I think it's just under 5,000 likes just now, which is really good. And again, when people come on to Facebook and maybe they search Golden Charter on Facebook to see what type of business Golden Charter is, they see that Golden Charter is well liked. It's got nearly 5,000 likes. It's got a lot of content. It looks very professional. It just reinforces the view that this is a very reputable business and a company with which they can trust to do business and look after them. And much in the same way that they would feel about funeral directors if they were to look at a funeral director's page. It's just about brand building and building that reputation online. You have that reputation in your community and at a very local level, but also how you transfer your reputation online and show your online community that you are a reputable business and a business they should and could trust, and that you could help them with something. Make your connections, engage with your audience, look at your data. How many people are looking at the site? What are they clicking on? Are they clicking on your Facebook page and then going through to your website? There's lots of interesting things. By the way, again, take it one step at a time. I'm not saying do all of these things really quickly and do it tomorrow. Not at all. Step by step, take your time. The Golden Charter Facebook page didn't get to where it is now overnight. It took 12 months. And even then, we still have a long way to go. This is absolutely a marathon and not a sprint when it comes to developing online. I honestly believe if you buy your way to success online or anything, it'll be very short-lived. You have to build these foundations, and you have to grow your audience up with your business online, and you will reap the rewards over time. Like that graph I put up earlier, the difference between PPC, which was very flat, and then it drops off. But the value of investing, although it'll cost more in your site, and then over time, costs will come down, but the value of it will go back up. Other things to think about in Facebook is always be testing. Always be testing. Respond to comments. And generally, they're positive. I've seen very, very positive comments on funeral director pages. People very, very grateful for the service funeral directors have given them. And always respond to the comments, even if it's just like or a general response. But remember, it's a two-way communication. I know this will take time, but it's absolutely worth it, because what you're doing is reinforcing your brand and reinforcing the values of your business, that you are very approachable and that you do communicate, you do these things. I see so many businesses not respond to comments, and that, you know, if I go onto their page and I see that the public have left comments but no one's responded to them, I think, well, does that business, do they really care? What's going on there? So think about that. Don't be afraid to ask for reviews. And also, again, back to the mobile device. You don't have to do all of this on your desktop or laptop. Facebook provides apps for your mobile device to manage your page, manage your adverts, so that you can do it on the go. And sometimes it's just a couple of clicks. We share a lot of content on our Facebook page, and one funeral director in particular, John Byrne in Fleetwood, JT Byrne Funeral Directors, you know, he tells me that nearly on a daily basis, how he keeps up to date his Facebook pages. He likes and shares the Golden Charter content, and that takes him 2 clicks. 1 click to like, 1 click to share, and then he's kind of done for the day. Now, John Byrne does create information for his own community, but generally he'll just share Golden Charter stuff or share other relevant stuff from maybe other relevant organizations, which, you know, it could be, I'm trying to think now, obviously SAIF Charter and the like, and other organizations that they can share information with. But it can take you seconds, or you can spend 10 minutes or an hour. It's really up to you. But it can be quite simple to interact with Facebook and interact with your community. I'm just going to pause before the next slide because I see some questions coming in here. Neri set up a Facebook business page recently, linked to personal page. Is there another way? It's okay to link it to your personal page. My personal page is linked to Golden Charter's business page. What you can do is you can set up a pseudonym or an alias on Facebook to control it. But generally, it's in your security settings that you can make sure that your personal page is not visible whatsoever through business pages. It's not something I would be overly worried about, because Facebook nowadays takes security very seriously. And again, any questions you have, you can generally find them in the help section of Facebook. They take things like that very seriously, and they're very helpful when it comes to protecting your personal account, which is really important because that's your personal account, from the business account. They really shouldn't be mixing anyway, and I don't think that's a situation you probably have, Neri, but there should be easy to find help on Facebook, but generally they are separate accounts. I've just missed one there. If I can scroll up on the questions. Peter has asked, can anyone recommend course providers to explain how to utilize Facebook promotions? The first place I would start, Peter, honestly, is on Facebook itself. We are creating a kind of basic how-to guide here at Golden Charter, which will be available to all SAIF Charter members, which will be just, you know, kind of simple basics. And you can do some further reading on Facebook again, but it is fairly simple stuff. And I would say it's time is the difficult thing, is dedicating some time to read and spend some time figuring it out for yourself, the basics of it. You can, of course, get help, and you could maybe get some agency or whatever to come in. But for the absolute basics of Facebook, I would recommend just trying to find the time and understand it yourself. Because, again, we get into this bit where if you kind of hand off things like this to, let's say, an agency, they can again try to bamboozle you with stuff for what is a fairly straightforward way of marketing yourself online, and that will reduce your costs because you're not having to pay someone else necessarily to do it all for you. However, everyone's situation is different. Maybe you would prefer to do it that way, but first and foremost, I would say just take a little bit of time to get a basic understanding yourself, and Facebook can offer that information on its site. And again, we will get that kind of how-to guide out. I can't say weeks. It could take me a little bit longer, but I'm more than halfway there. I feel like I'm writing a book, but it'll be about 12 or so pages on you know, how to do things. Okay. Okay, Sai's asked a question. Is there a danger of bombarding your followers if you click and share a lot of content? Could it dilute relevant content? Absolutely. Great question. Think about Facebook as a conversation. You're having a conversation with someone. If you keep talking at them all the time, the person or persons will become less receptive to what you're saying. So Facebook is a conversation. Think about it that way. How would you have a conversation over dinner, in the pub, at home with your family or whatever? Think about how you give and take that information. Absolutely great point, Sai, about bombarding. Do not bombard. Do not be sending things out every 10 minutes or every half an hour, every hour, because people will get tired and they'll switch off, or they might even remove you from their news feed on Facebook. So I'd absolutely say don't bombard. You know, at Golden Charter, we tend to only do 2 updates a day. One early in the morning, one late in the afternoon. But we do it consistently, and that's the important thing. There's no point in doing 10 messages in one day and then coming back to Facebook in a week's time and then doing another 10. Again, it's not a sprint, it's marathon. Take your time and do it consistently. one update a day or one update every 2 or 3 days would be absolutely more than enough for your business. Onto the final set of slides, what I thought might be helpful is just kind of 7 top tips, if you will, about just doing anything online. And the first one being picking the right domain name. If you've got a website now, great. Hopefully the name of your business is the name you have for your domain name. So www.jtbyrnefuneraldirectors.com or whatever. That's just an example. So make sure it's a descriptive name. Set realistic budgets. You know, yes, you can get something done for £500, but that might not be realistic. And what I've certainly seen in my time with funeral directors is some funeral directors have spent far too much money on their website. Some funeral directors have spent no money on their website and don't even have a website. And some funeral directors just get it just right. So it is a bit of test and learn in terms of what you would need to spend. There's no kind of number I would absolutely say, but it depends, because it depends whether you already have a website. Is the website good enough? Are your rankings on Google high enough? What is your marketing spend in the mix? Every case is different, but you know, have a look at what you're spending offline. Are you spending the same online? Is it disproportionate? What is your mix? Have a think about those things and set realistic budgets. But you know, it will cost something to grow your online presence, but it shouldn't cost a fortune. And you know, if you ever think the number's too high that someone is maybe pitching you from an agency or whatever, step back, have a think about it. And at the end of this presentation, I'll also put my email address in the chat box. And if you ever have a question, always feel free to email me. And even if it's just something like someone's trying to charge me £20,000 for a website, my instant response will be a capital N and a capital O. No, don't be spending money like that at all on a website. Get your design right. And what I really mean by that, and the best example I can give is, a funeral director recently, well, not recently, maybe 3-4 months ago, showed me their website. And it looked beautiful, looked absolutely beautiful on a desktop. And then I looked at it on a mobile device, and I couldn't make it out because the screen size is smaller, so the logo was quite complicated. And when I looked at it on a mobile, I was like, that looks difficult. And then the text was tiny. It wasn't what we'd call mobile responsive. It just did not look good on a mobile device. So what I would absolutely say is, if you are designing a website or you're changing it around or you're creating a new one, what does it look like on a mobile device first and foremost? Keep it simple. Keep it really simple. And the great thing about mobile design is, because it's a small screen and limited space, it forces you to take things out and keep it really simple. And that's just good design practice. Keep things really, really simple. Onto the penultimate slide. And continuing the top tips, again, mention SEO, search engine optimization. Get on Google, get as high up Google as you can, and you'll get the clicks to your website. Pay-per-click. Now, this isn't necessarily something that you have to be involved with at a local level as a local funeral director, but absolutely something you should be aware of, because at a national level, it's a real battle going on between Golden Charter, Cooperative, Dignity, and many other businesses. At a local level, it's not necessarily a requirement, but it's something you should absolutely be aware of. When you type your business name into Google, is somebody, generally a competitor, bidding on your name and relevant terms to you, like funeral director Nottingham? And you're the main funeral director in Nottingham, but actually your competition is both those words and is coming above you in the search results and getting those terms. So it's something to be mindful of. Next top tip would be social media. Absolutely think about social media. And by that I really mean Facebook. Think about how you can present your business on Facebook and then potentially grow your business on Facebook. Again, it's not going to happen overnight. It will take time, but it's absolutely a space you should be looking at developing your business presence. And then the last thing, maintenance and getting the right content management system, how you manage everything happening online. And I know it's easier said than done, it takes time, but ultimately the way I kind of the analogy I would use for this, and I've used before, and Terry, I think this is maybe the same analogy I used when we last spoke in Perth, is that it's kind of like your garden. If you spend the money on the website and all the things, you know, let's say you landscape your garden, you have the garden furniture or whatever, if you don't maintain your garden, it will become overgrown and your furniture will get wet or deteriorate and everything. Your online presence is exactly the same thing. Yes, you'll have to spend an amount of money to get it the way you would like it to be, or to get it to a suitable operating level. But then you will also have to have a budget to maintain that. It doesn't just stop, and that's one of the most common things I've seen, not necessarily with funeral directors, but across many, many businesses, that they will have a big project to launch a website and they're advertising and it'll run for 6 months, and then after that, nothing. And then a year later or 18 months later, they're wondering why they don't get as much traffic online and not much happens online anymore, because they haven't maintained it. You must think about how to maintain your online. And that is pretty much the online marketing presentation from myself, covering PPC, SEO, and all things online.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was such a strong presentation. Friends, that PowerPoint will be available to you. This session has been recorded. It will be put onto the members area of SAIF's website. Kieran, you're going to type your contact email address, aren't you, in the chat box? Really,
thank you, Terry. I'll do that right now.
Very strong content. So I'd encourage you in your firms to really think about and get your management teams to really think about an integrated marketing mix, offline, online, and how to really create that content. I love that point about a conversation using Facebook rather than selling yourself, about engaging in topical themes of interest, and so that people will enjoy going to your Facebook page and seeing how your firm is engaging in philanthropy and community projects, expressing views, all gain interest. Kieran, our sincere thanks. You can see in the chat box, people are really appreciative. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.